Good afternoon. My name is Migdalia Nieves Melendez, and I will be talking about today about one of my favorite things, which is cakes. To inform my listener, one of the many ways or the best way to make a rich and wonderful homemade cake. For decades, people have been trying to make rich and delicious cake, but when it's come to talk about how they are made it and what products are using to make those cakes, it's when the homemade cake subject comes into place. Cakes were invented since the medieval times, but they were not actually cakes. Bread are cakes when somewhat interchangeable words with the term cake being used for smaller breads. The earliest example were found among the remains of Neolithic village, where archaeologists found or discovered simple cakes made from crushed grains, moistened, compact, and probably cooked on hot stone. According to the investigation by the 18th century, cakes were considered a symbol of the well-being of the Americans. Since the production and industrialization came to part and equality is at risk. I investigate using different articles about the cake industries. I found out that according to those articles, the cake has been part of the families for decades. I will discuss the details of my investigation. Being a baking and pastry chef, I think I am more than qualified to speak about this topic. Let's start with the confection of a cake. By 19th century, the people who were in contact with industrialization made the cakes because the products were easier to find and buy. The ingredients are the best part of the most important part of the confection of a cake. The ingredients for a homemade cakes are the following: eggs, butter, sugar, and flour. And you can see the picture right here. We have the eggs, we have the butter, we have the sugar, and we have the flour for make our wonderful homemade cake. Temperature is one of the most important steps to prepare our homemade cake. Room temperature eggs will whip better, and you can incorporate more air into your mix, as will soften, not melted butter. It's very important the butter will be softer. Take everything out of the fridge a good hour before you intend to start baking. It's very important the ingredients will be at room temperature before you start the process to mix your cake. If you need to bring your butter at room temperature quickly, I recommend you to cut the butter into squares and plop into some tepid, not warm water, just tepid water. It will that help the butter to soften soon. This process is one that takes time, so it's recommended to do with plenty of time, so the confection turns out perfect. You will get a perfect cake. And now let's talk about the production and the cost of production. These are the steps of homemade cake production. Beat the butter to semi-maximum speed until it becomes creamy. Pour the sugar liter by liter and the eggs one by one. Pour the flour alternating in with milk. You have to finish with the flour. Although very important to always check the amount of flour. You don't want to put a lot of flour or a little bit of flour, just the right amount. Pour the mixture in a separate container, and you will separate the yolk from the whites, because you will need the whites to create a meringue that will use to the cake and that will incorporate body to the cake. Bake the cake for approximately 45 minutes. But it's very important, check the cake every 20 minutes to make sure everything is under control in your oven and the cake will raise properly. Bake with love. That was the most important thing you have to do to bake your cake. This is the beginning of our cake. We're mixing everything together, and after this you will see, or you will have, the finished products. A cake baked with love. The cost of the production of a homemade cake depends on the customer decision and size of and the decorations. Example: good example of these prices are the following. For a standard cake that serves like say 16 and 20 to 20 people, the price range is $26.50. That some cake flour with filling costs $31.50, and the same cake maker's custom cost will be $36.50. And depends on the decoration you will put on your cake. Another example of the price is for example a round cake, a regular round cake, 8 inches round, that will cost like $26.50, but Costco will sell the same exact cake for only $12.99. The big difference between Costco is he is a wholesale company, and homemade cake cannot be done with those places. They don't have the ingredients or the capacity to compete against Costco. The price is different because they work by production and not by quality. The flavor will be affected, and the beauty of the cake will be affected too, because we will have the homemade cakes will be best quality, best flavor, and the beauty will be best. For another hand, the wedding cakes are different and more expensive. Wedding cakes are harder to make and consume a lot of time and effort. Special, because it's that special day in the life of the bride, and she wants that cake to be perfect for her occasion, for her wedding day. And the cost of the wedding cake is determined by the number of people, the number of serving you will serve that day with your cake. And the price can be started, like for example, $2.50 to $5 per serving or per slice. For the conclusion, the homemade cake business is one very lucrative, depends on the quality of your products and depends on the presentation of your cake. The homemade company cannot compete with the wholesale industry because they are not so big and powerful to cut down the production cost. The homemade cake industry guarantees the flavor, the freshness, and the preservative-free cakes for the entire family. If you buy a homemade cake, you will get quality, you will get freshness, and you will get a cake made with love. With homemade cakes, your family can be sure that they are eating the best cake ever made. Clincher. Should I buy cake from a homemade baker? Yes. If you buy from a homemade baker, you are buying quality. You will be helping the small business people like me to make a living with the job that I love, because I love to be a baker.